UW-AOS Alumni Reception at the 101st AMS Annual Meeting. This is our first such virtual meeting. I hope it flows smoothly for all of us this evening. Thanks again to Pete Pokrant for setting this up, Alan Robach for setting up the Gather meeting place, Ms. Sue Foldy for getting the meeting information out to all of us. Additionally, to our AOS Alumni Board, thanks for helping coordinate with us on this important event. We also wish to thank the GSA, our Graduate Student Association, as well as the Student AMS chapter for their participation in this event. This reception is supported by a generous gift made by the estate of Leonard Robach. This same generous gift supports our annual Robach lecture series that brings an expert to campus to give a well-advertised public lecture on an issue related to the public interest. This alumni event has become a wonderful reunion of our AOS family, an evening of reflection, reconnection, and recollection. A great time to see old friends and make new acquaintances, an opportunity for current students to connect with alumni, and a chance for prospective students to get a glimpse of our proud history and strong programs. I hope all of you take advantage of this event and participate as much as you can in the breakout rooms and the Gather site. Again, I'm Michael Morgan. Just under 2 weeks ago, I began serving as chair of our department after a one-semester sabbatical. I've been on the faculty for 25 years, and I've seen lots of familiar faces. My research focuses on predictability and dynamical processes of weather systems on timescales from about a day out to several weeks. And I also have some interest in public policy. The very fact that we're conducting this event virtually is an unfortunate reminder that COVID-19 still remains a challenge globally. Last spring, like many universities, our instruction swiftly switched to online during spring break. Faculty, TAs, administration, and campus staff all stepped up to provide assistance and guidance in this abrupt transition of operations. New protocols for access to our buildings had to be developed and implemented to minimize the impact on our mission. This academic year, our department has operated in a hybrid mode with a few face-to-face graduate and undergraduate classes and online versions of other classes, including our popular 100-level weather and climate class. It was heartening to see faculty, staff, TAs, and graders making the necessary changes to courses to deliver quality lectures and discussion sessions. While lessons learned after study should provide us with insight into what worked and how to better adopt courses, one thing is obvious: the dedication of our instructors did not dim, nor did their desire to connect in a meaningful way with their students. But COVID-19 did not write the story of this year. The department has grown significantly and new programs have emerged. My predecessor, Professor Greg Tripoli, will say a few words about the last year, our new hires, and his reflections on our program and the university. I will then share with you a bit about our recent activities related to diversity, inclusiveness, and belonging, and the leadership that our students have shown in that particular area. So I'll turn it now over to Greg.
Thanks, Michael. Can everyone hear me? Good. Well, as you know, in the past 6 months, we've undergone another big change. Our former department administrator, Chelsea, who's online here too, transferred into the SSEC leadership team, and she gradually moved out of the department, moving out by October 1st. And Christy Levinson, who's also online here, is our new department manager. I stepped down as chair on January 1st, and Professor Morgan now is taken over as chair. So right now, what I thought I'd do is reflect a little bit on some of the changes that Chelsea and I have put through the department over the past 4 years, since 2016, 4.5 years, and just say how things have changed. I think one of the most stunning changes is the change in faculty. We've increased our faculty by quite a lot. Overall, our faculty numbers were about 13 in 2016. And then with the departure of Lou and Galen, we dropped to 11 faculty. And that's only about 9.2 full-time, because some of these were part-time. And now we've recovered to about 18 already. And we have another possibility on the horizon where we may actually be up to 19 in a year or so. So it's really almost like a brand new department. This all began the growing phase in 2019 when Professor Henderson, Stephanie Henderson, began her teaching role. And then in spring, Pete's got some pictures here you can put up. So there's Steph. And then in spring 2020, we added 2 new faculty of Liz Maroon and Angela Rowe. And they started, I think Liz started teaching in the spring and actually won the Graduate Student Award for her efforts at teaching. It was quite a thing. And then in the fall, this past fall, the semester we just finished, and Angela began her teaching. Then in September, we also added another new professor. Angel, I don't know if he's here today. He hasn't actually walked into the building yet, I think, because of the COVID, but he's in Madison and ready to start teaching, I believe, this semester coming up in the spring. We had 2 more accepted offers now for faculty that I can announce. And these are in conjunction with the new polar cluster that Dan Weimont and others from around the university put together. But Dan Weimont was the leader, Professor Weimont from our department. And this polar cluster is focusing on polar oceanography with regard to our department in particular. New professors coming in are Hannah Zanowski, and just a couple days ago, we have final confirmation that Professor Till Wagner, who's now a professor at North Carolina, Charlottesville, he's going to be the second polar cluster hire. So the interesting thing about this is it brings our total oceanography faculty now up to 3 that are just basically oceanographers. And then you have Dan and a couple others who are interested in oceanography. So I think for the first time since we brought in the oceanography program, I believe in about 1992 or early 90s. So in the first time since then now, we actually have what looks like a critical mass of professors and then students. So I think it's really a surge change in the way we're doing things. There were times only a couple of years ago where we even considered dropping oceanography, but now we're very strong and very happy that they've come. The next thing that's happening right now is last 2 years we proposed, but last year our proposal was accepted to participate in an Origins of Our Galaxy cluster. Sounds pretty 21st century, doesn't it? But this is what it is. We're going to have a new cluster between astronomy and biology and atmospheric science, where we're going to look at origins of life on other planets. And part of that is the atmospheric science and ocean science problem in these other exoplanet areas. So this is a very strongly developing field nationally, supported most exclusively by NASA, but it's a very, very strongly growing field right now. So we're very excited about that. We did plan to do the cluster hiring this year, but COVID has delayed things. So that'll come up within the next year or so. We also brought on, as you know, Professor Pierce, Brad Pierce, who is now a tenured full-time professor in our department. And at the same time, he's the director of space sciences. So he's another faculty. At the same time, Professor Ackerman, who many of you know, he's still a faculty in our department, but now he's the vice chancellor in charge of research and graduate education for the entire university. That makes him number 3 in the university, behind the chancellor and the provost. So we have a lot of clout around the University of Wisconsin, although he won't give us any special treatment. So I believe this new faculty here, 18 to 19, possibly, if the Origins cluster comes through, this could be the largest faculty. I know it's the largest since I've been at this university, but it may be the largest in the history of this department, largest number. And I don't think it's going to stop there. I should mention that this, one thing we did, and we powwowed about this about 5 years ago, was we wanted to increase our ties among the centers. And we certainly renewed our collaboration ties with SSEC, SIMS, and CCR in the past couple of years. Now, Professor Tristan LaCour is the director of SIMS. And Brad Pierce, who's a member of our faculty now and has students, is the director of SSEC. At the same time, the director of CCR is Dan, and the Polar Cluster resides there. So this is quite a difference. In addition, I don't think we can count out that Chelsea, our former department manager, didn't just leave us high and dry. She's now part of the senior management of SSEC. And so we have very close relationships with SSEC through her. And what that's bringing us is a new coordinated sponsorship of graduate and undergraduate research, in addition to the types of jobs that it can mean for our students at all levels. Another major change that we've talked about before in some of these meetings is the professional master's program. I can't emphasize how big of a change this is. We talked about doing this in our powwows a couple of years ago about how we should change the department. And Professor Anker Desai made this all happen. And we have now designed a one-year professional master's degree, and we've altered and changed our courses around and really made things a little different to allow us to offer a one-year professional master's degree, including internships and a lot of practical training. I can't emphasize enough how much our alumni group has helped us do this. Alumni that's out in the private industry, they have helped us put this whole thing together, and it's now happening. It went live last fall. We didn't get full approval from the university on this until I think it was in December that we actually had full approval. So we didn't get really through. I have enough time on the webpage and so on to get a full recruiting season. We have 3 students in the first year, but we expect this is going to expand to as many as 30, 40 students in the future. It's not only will it expand to 30 or 40 students, it's going to require more faculty than we have right now. We did last winter, I believe it was, we hired Caitlin Heinlein. She's online here with us right now. She's the program manager for the professional masters. And what she's going to do is really take care of the program, manage it, help put together internships, and do a lot of the practical work. And she may actually, we've talked about before, teach one of the classes. She has a master's through, I believe, Milwaukee and UW-Milwaukee. And she could actually teach a class in this program. So this is a very big deal. It's going to change our department a lot. And we're very excited about this. This is probably one of the biggest changes we've seen. At the same time, we put together a student advisor. I think it was beginning in, I can't talk, I'm talking to a still picture there, but Eric, he's online here. Eric Schufner is our advisor. We have his services in conjunction with about 3 other departments, and in the physical sciences, that is. And he advises our undergraduate students, and he's really helped jumpstart or motivate or grow our undergraduate program quite a bit. It was kind of fading over the years, and now with Eric coming in, it's totally revitalized. And as part of that, in consultation with Eric, we made the change as a faculty to start allowing freshmen to declare as majors. And most of you who were here a long time ago remember that was never the case. But now it is. Now freshmen can come when they walk in the door to University of Wisconsin and declare to be an AOS major. And then he can Eric will advise them all the way through. We added our first freshman interest group in 2017. This is a way we can get in contact with freshmen. One of the things we learned during our powwows a couple of years ago was that there were many people around the university that until they became majors in a department when they were juniors, they never even realized that there was such a thing as a meteorology or atmospheric science department in the university. So one of the ways you get around that is have these freshman interest groups where you teach them about how severe weather and other, various aspects of meteorology affect society and how we play a part, along with other departments in the university, in preparing people for that. And so we've had a lot of success. The students love these freshman interest groups, and Liz and Michael are offering another one this coming year. So we'll have two of them. So this is another major difference. I could mention that we've done a lot of remodeling around the building. Many of you will, if you come to the building that haven't been there, will see that there's a brand new 811 classroom with new furniture and new audiovisual equipment. And 823 is undergoing the same kind of renovation right now, at least we're working on it. And also with all these new faculty, we're remodeling offices. When they come in, we're making an attempt to not only clean up the offices, but put carpet in them and model new furniture. So it's going to look a lot different. When I came here, I just had to search the building for old furniture. Now we're doing it right. And this really was started originally by Chelsea, and now Christy is carrying on, making this a priority to clean this up. Finally, I wanted to mention the SUNY Technology Medal this year, if any of you looked at that. This year's AMS SUNY Technology Medal, which is one of their highest honors, one of the 2 or 3 highest honors of the AMS, was awarded to Professor Eric Smith, who retired from Florida State faculty and then NASA a few years ago, who was one of our perhaps first of SUNY's assistant researchers, going back to the Explorer 7 in 1959. He goes way back here, and he worked with SUNY throughout the 60s and into the mid-70s. He was a fixture in our department, doing a lot of the hard work that got things off the ground. He worked on TIROS, ESSA, the ATS satellites, and developed the WinCo software, which eventually became Macias. So he's one of the originals of our department. He comes back every few years because he likes to go to Packer games still. He grew up in University Heights, right across from the university, and he actually started working with SUNY in the department when he was still in high school back in the 50s. So he is really, truly one of our own. And I just say, congratulations, Eric. So that's all I have to say. Back to you.
Okay, thanks. As Pete predicted, we're going to have issues with not unmuting. So thanks very much, Greg. I appreciate the comments and really the leadership that you've provided our department over the last 4.5 years. And we can give you a virtual thumbs up or applause for that service. It's really given us a lot moving forward. And so thanks very much for your leadership. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of sort of new things that we're beginning to move in toward and consider in our department, and that's issues related to diversity, inclusiveness, belonging, and accessibility. So I'm going to it's a little bit long-winded, but I'll get to the point really quickly. So if you go back and look at the history of our country, the 2 founding sins of the United States were the enslavement of Africans and Caribbeans and the dispossession of indigenous peoples on this continent from their lands. And this has had a lasting impact on the story of our country. Even before the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, all by police, even before these and dozens of other similar incidents triggered sustained protest from spring into the fall, institutionalized racism and the effects of white supremacy have been a reality in our country. That reality has been made more raw and viscerally evident in the unequal access to healthcare and the disparate impacts of COVID within the United States. And these issues actually affect the physical sciences. It's been recognized that in the physical sciences and the geosciences in particular, There has historically been an underrepresentation of communities of color. Recent studies have identified the lack of supportive environments for these students in their departments and the enormous financial challenges facing these students in general. As a recent American Institute of Physics report notes, quote, solving these problems requires not only changing the way we train students, but how we think about training our students. These challenges will not be solved by individuals or departments alone, but the physical sciences overall must be engaged through professional societies, and this solution requires will and money. In our department, on the 30th of June, AOS students, graduate students, wrote a letter to the faculty urging faculty, staff, affiliated scientists, and graduate students in AOS to make a tangible commitment to support the national movement to defend Black lives and foster an inclusive environment for underrepresented students and faculty. The letter noted the lack of diversity across the geosciences and its broader implications. Just think about it for a moment. Not only does embracing diversity in all of its dimensions and promoting inclusivity and fostering the genuine reality of belonging, not only do these foster a more creative environment to identify solutions to complex problems facing the whole of humanity, like climate change, it also allows for these solutions to be crafted and communicated in ways that are recognized and understood as relevant to the different communities impacted by those problems. The graduate student letter called for our department to increase diversity in the department, particularly with respect to students, and also building a more inclusive environment. Our department has since formed a community on diversity, equity, inclusiveness, and belonging comprised by faculty, graduate students, undergraduates, and our undergraduate physical science advisor, Eric Schufner. Our meetings over the fall have begun to identify tangible steps to respond to the students. Some early ideas include using our weekly Weather Watch, now streamed live and archived on YouTube, as an outreach activity. More specifically, Professor John Martin has generously offered to make his weather discussion clips prepared for his weather and climate course available as a resource for teachers and students across the state. And we're going to work to initially target schools serving minority, middle, and high school students. We would like to work to establish regular links between our department and classes across the state to talk about opportunities for engagement in our discipline and the excitement of our science. Additionally, internally, a reading and discussion group is being formed to discuss these issues. And finally, facilitated and unfacilitated training activities will be identified to increase awareness of the systemic nature of this issue. Addressing issues of diversity, inclusiveness, accessibility, and belonging is important not only for our department or our AOS family, but also for the broader disciplines of atmospheric and oceanic sciences, and for, frankly, all of humanity. Despite the differences between humans, the glue that binds us together on this planet is our humanity. We must recognize that while we do vary greatly as individuals and across cultures and traditions, we do share a common humanity that allows for the possibility of every human being to potentially communicate with and enter into a moral, respectful relationship with every other human being on this planet. That wonderful possibility signifies that, in fact, Black Lives Matter. I'm proud to be in a department populated with students recognizing this challenge and pushing actively for meaningful change. And I hope our alumni share this sense of pride. Our graduate and undergraduate students, with support from SSEC staff, including Gene Phillips of the Short Figure Library, have produced an amazing calendar, a fundraising vehicle to support, among other things, anti-bias training and outreach. And I hope you'll support their efforts in this activity. You can see just the cover of that calendar and also some text taken from the first page of it that describes some of the how these funds would be used and the purpose for creating it. And I think it's really an amazing development with our students showing the leadership in this area. So we see these activities, the student leadership there in the department beginning to respond to that student letter. And I want to commit to you that during my tenure as chair, we're going to follow through with a more complete response to that student letter. And we'll have identified concrete, lasting steps to move the needle in our department. And I invite our alumni group to contribute to this effort as well. This is really important, not only for us in our field, but for our science in the globe. I next, again, thank you for your attention. And I'm going to turn the discussion now over to the Alumni Engagement Board, and they're going, Ms. Kris Craven, the meteorologist in charge from NOAA NWS Topeka, to discuss some of the Alumni Board activities. Kris.
Hi, great to talk to you guys. My 16-year-old is hiding behind my laptop and might make faces at me as we go along, so, you know. That That is a hard act to follow, but I'm going to give it a try. And it might be great to see if, Pete, there's a way we can share a link to that calendar to promote sales of it somehow. Maybe after I speak, we can come up with ideas for that. But
and there are going to be people in there collecting information. I don't think it's available for sale yet, but they're going to be collecting information to let people know.
Great. All right, well, let me give you my my little spiel here so we can get on to our breakout rooms. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a 1999 graduate in the master's program, and my advisor was Dr. Michael Morgan. And I am the current co-chair of the engagement board, along with Jennifer Struzas-Zeltwanger. And for those of you who don't know about the board, which I think most of you do, but I'll just read you quickly from the charter. It kind of sums up the whole purpose of the board. But the board seeks to foster a link among currently enrolled students and our widespread and successful graduate and undergraduate alumni. The board serves as a resource for professional contact, social opportunities, position openings, development of major gifts and financial support for students, and a source for feedback and support on department initiatives. So that's a lot of fancy stuff. It was informally established around 2016, more formally in 2017. And then we had a charter for the 2018 and 2019 board that we actually have a set of rules and a charter that we follow. And so this group took sort of the conglomeration of ideas of the last 2 years and came up with some big categories and grouped them all together. So we have 3 big goals that we look for in the engagement board. That is outreach, something we decided to call inreach, and then fundraising. And we focus on 4, we seem to have come around to 4 main events, and that is this, the reception, where the alumni get together and we can foster the community there. The fall open house, spring graduation, and Founders Day, if it's available in your community. We'll encourage folks to go to that. So what does all this mean? And I'm going off some notes because I don't want to forget anything, but so for outreach, that's reaching out to you all. So that's getting our alumni built into our alumni database there, and I'll also provide some links here at the end for that. But that builds on the wealth and the knowledge of you all and the skills that you possess, so we can turn around and use that power for good. The students themselves don't actually have access to this database, but the department does. So if we have things we want to share with you, we can use that database that way. We are at 143 members. We have a lot more alumni than that. So please spread the word to all your friends and cohorts that are graduates from the department, and let's get those numbers up. So the bigger that database is, the more we can reach out directly to you all. And then we came up with this other category called inreach for basically reaching back down to the department or into the department. So do you know about an opportunity for a current student, or maybe internships or job opportunities or volunteer positions or job shadows, or in this new era, maybe some kind of a telework or virtual position you could offer to a student. Maybe you're no longer in meteorology, but you've gone into HR and you have great skills for interviewing people. Maybe you could meet with students and teach them how to get through interviews for jobs, or look at their resumes and help refine their resume skills. Maybe you'd be willing to mentor a student on your own, whether that's an undergraduate or a graduate or a professional graduate student, professional master's candidate. So think about things like that. Maybe you have a research project that you're working on and that the department or student body might be able to help you out with. Or maybe you're willing to give a talk to a class so about what you do in your line of work. So all those things are things that you can do to help out the current students in the department. Again, our main goal is to engage the alumni and the students and the faculty and keep everybody involved and engaged. There's a couple of opportunities sort of on the docket as we speak. Caitlin had passed on to me, and I will read from an email from her that in terms of the professional master's students, there are 3 students in the program, and all of them are specializing in forecasting and modeling at this point. 2 of the 3 are still searching for summer 2021 internships, and those can be in-person or remote based. And they would preferably like to find something in operations, private or public. So if you've got if you're aware of any opportunities or potential internships or could offer one to a student, you can reach out to us and we will let them know. I believe that Caitlin is going to be in the main room along with Eric Schufner as well. And then there was also an email that they are looking for potentially speakers for the senior capstone seminar. So if you would like to give a talk, they describe that as presentations by the instructor and guest scientists will highlight interesting research areas and how they contribute toward understanding the Earth system, which is pretty much what most of us do. So if you've got something you could contribute to that, you could let the alumni board know, and we can reach back to them and get that set up. And let's see. So that sort of covers the 2 of the 3 categories. I'll hit fundraising in just a brief minute here. But the other thing we want to hit on is events. Like we said, that was the 4 things we mentioned. This one, the AMS Founders Day and graduation ceremonies and open house. We had an open house in 2018 and 2019, and I thought they were very well received. It was a really great opportunity to get back to the department, get back to Madison. I love coming to Madison. Please give me any opportunity, I will come up there. So the general feel of it was we started out with a morning coffee hour, and the department kind of gave us a briefing, a lot like Greg just did, about what's going on, all the updates. And then we had a chance to walk the halls and go to classes, and we had chances for students to answer questions. They set up some question and answer panels where we could just talk directly with the students. We had a pizza lunch, which included the students that were on campus that day, and we got to sit through Weather Watch and have some discussion there. And then several of us went off campus after that for a Friday beer call. So that was fun also. Got to have my Friday night fish fry, yes. It happened also to coincide with homecoming weekend. Well, so that meant the next day that several people got up and went to the football game. I remember, John, we were talking in Weather Watch about the snow at the last one, and we had some convective snow bands that came through during that event last time. So it also coincided with breakfast with the chancellor. If any of you have been invited to that, if you're in some of the fundraising or some of the groups associated with departments, you might get invited to that. And it was in that same weekend. So you were able to come up for 2, maybe 3 days. 1, if you were short on time, and get a whole bunch of stuff done and get a chance to come and see Madison. So it's an excellent opportunity to get back to campus, walk down State Street, meet Pete and get a rooftop selfie, all those things. So it's a great chance to do it, and we would like to keep that going. So in terms of fundraising, our initial goal for fundraising, I think, is going to be this, is raising money for donations for that specific event, in terms of maybe doing something better than drugstore coffee, although they did provide us great pizza. So we're going to be looking into that. There's tricks to fundraising and what you can and can't use for fundraising, and what email you can use and what you can't use. So stay tuned. At this point, if you send something to the general fund earmarked for the open house, that would get to the right person, but we will give you additional details as they become available in whatever method we are allowed to do that. So there's grander talk of scholarships and buildings, and that, that's way down the road. We're going to start with the open house and go from there. So that's where we would like to go. So how can you help? Email the board, simple email, and we will provide these. Alumni board, no dots, at aos.wisc.edu. The webpage, we have a Twitter feed now where you can post job opportunities, and we'll give you a link to that also. Eric Schiffner also posted that Badger Bridge is a great way to stay involved with the entire campus, the entire alumni community, not just the AOS department. Maybe you want to tune in for Weather Watch on Fridays, or maybe you want to show up at our virtual beer call. All those things are available to you. So that's kind of it in the wrap. And I would also throw in the plug for, if you want to be on the board, the nominations are coming up. Feel free to throw your name in the hat, and let us know if you're interested, and we can send you the information on how you formally ask to be on the board, and then we go through nominations. Terms are 2 years, and the chairs are for 1 year. So please reach out to us if you're interested in participating, and I'll stop talking and pass it back to Pete.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop recording now, so it's going to tell me